welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a privilege to be here with both of you.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, it's a great pleasure. And since we are the Bitcoin marketing podcast, we will start with a quick message. So join us in Madrid, Spain on the 9th to the 12th May 2026. Mad Bitcoin is the first and biggest Southern European Bitcoin only conference. And we hope to see you. And by the way, we need more women in that conference, which it will be the first edition, but it will be big. And please use code Bitfluencers10 to get 10% discount at checkout. Let's go.
Welcome to the Bitfluencers Podcast. I'm your host, Desi.
Yeah, I'm your other host, Stefan. And so we wanted to talk to you because you are a growing figure in the Bitcoin space, in the African women empowerment Bitcoin space. And so let's have some fun. So I asked Grok to tell me about you. So I'm just going to read it and you're going to tell me whether it's bullshit or it's true. And then you can talk all you want. So basically, what does Grok tells about you? So you are a versatile South African writer, content creator, SEO copywriter, storyteller, and identity coach. You have a background in teaching English, freelance writing, sorry, and you wrote a book called No Worries, Live Your Life Stress Free. Okay, and so is that correct, or is there something missing, or?
Wow, I'm actually surprised Grok went into the archives for all of that. But it is correct. And that shows you also how new I am to the Bitcoin space. I didn't speak too much on that. So that's something
Yeah.
that I guess I need to work on then.
Please comment on what Grok said and on your on what you tell about yourself within Bitcoin.
Oh, okay. So on what Grok said, yes, I have been a freelance writer for a while. Teaching English. I never wanted to be a teacher, but it's in my blood. My grandfather, both grandfathers on both sides of the family were headmasters and leaders. So I guess it fell on me, and here we are. And thanks to that to that teaching that I've done, it's also helped me now to find my place in Bitcoin as a Bitcoin educator. On my X profile, when I speak to exploring Bitcoin, 3 a.m. insights, and soft power for women in hard money systems, we're speaking to how Bitcoin as hard money can be for women so that they are empowered. So for me, it's very important that women are empowered, especially in Africa, because the large majority of people who are unbanked or financially excluded are African women.
Excellent stuff. In fact, we were talking about it before recording that.
I think as power the woman, you empower the community. As women, we want to share what we've learned. If I learn how to do something, I'm going to run to Daisy and be like, oh, Daisy, let me show you this thing that I learned. It's just in us, you know? And that's why we have things like Stockfells. We come together to save money, to create goals together and work towards them together, because doing it by yourself is difficult. So we create a sense of community and we don't want to leave anybody behind. We want to move ahead. And that's something I really appreciate about African women leaders in Bitcoin. All of them want to empower other women. They may not have enough support, but with what they have, they do amazing things, which is why I think we need to draw attention to the fact that African women in leadership in Bitcoin need to have support, especially financially, structurally. And it's amazing to have men like you in this space who support women, because that is how their impact gets amplified in this space. So it's very important for the voices of the people who use Bitcoin to be heard so that it can be better implemented and shared with everybody else.
Super interesting. It makes me think while you're talking that, as far as I understand, Africa is still full of scams, and I wondered whether if the information flows through women, especially if they know each other. So you already have a network of people trusting each other, of women trusting each other in this case. That like it's like it generates a barrier that protects people from scams. Is that a correct view or?
That is actually an interesting view because a lot of women do still think it's a scam because of who they learned it from. So if you learn it from someone you trust, if I go to Daisy and she trusts me and we've built this rapport, then it's less likely for me to scam her or for her to fall for my scam. But if it's someone who you think you know, then it's easy for them to manipulate you. And one thing I must hard earned cash. So come with getting into Bitcoin because the bad thing, it's the people that use it. And that's why I'm passionate about educating people from the bottom, from the grassroots, so to speak. What is Bitcoin? What are the things that you should look out for? How can we trust who is telling us what this thing is? Where should you go to learn about it properly? And that's probably another reason why the scamming happens. There's not enough clear cut education that speaks specifically to an African woman. It's more male dominated or more Western, like the picture or the view that it comes from. So they may think, oh, this doesn't apply to me. I don't see how it
Ah,
relates
okay,
to me. Yes.
okay, get it. Okay, so yeah, so the pig butchering exists the other way around then, like men pretending to love you, right? Okay,
Yeah.
becoming it's a literal industry now. I work in the security space too with the Bitcoin advisor. So we offer a multi-sig collaborative security service, and we encounter disasters like on a weekly basis. And so I'm really sensitive about that because when you have number go up but you lost access to your coins, it's really it's a disaster. So Daisy, do you have a question? Because I have five.
Lazolia, I would love to know more about the Satoshi Sister cohort and your experience with the cohort.
Thank you so much, Daisy. It was a blessing in disguise. I was just scrolling on X when I came across the Satoshi Sisters Circle X page, and it was talking about Bitcoin for women. And I thought, this is interesting. A few months passed, and they spoke to helping us join a cohort where we'd learn more about Bitcoin and create our identity. And I thought, what is this? Let me try. So I applied for the cohort and I got accepted. And it was beyond what I could have imagined. It was a community of women being led by Charlene Fadiribo. She's amazing. Mary Imasuen and Janet Maingi, and the three of them led us through creating our Bitcoin identity, finding our place in the space. And it was so fantastic because I had never found a community in the crypto space, so to speak. It was always about males, but this was specifically Bitcoin. And what appealed to me was it was African women. That for me was like the winning point. Now, within the actual place, I've met amazing women such as yourself. I thought to myself, where have I been? All these women that have been in the Bitcoin space doing amazing things. It was so new to me. I didn't know that things like this were existed. And so when I was on this journey, it made me introspect a lot. And I found out that I'm an architect and that I use words to create worlds. So even though it's not a literal architect, it still is. And it was funny because two of my uncles are actually architects in real life. So it played out again. So on my capstone project, I looked at women in leadership in the Bitcoin space. And I led that project and I had a fantastic mentor, Mogashini Naidu. She actually saw the leader in me before I did. So I'm very, very grateful for her. She helped me to position myself and how I ended up becoming a Bitcoin educator and writer. And it married with how much I love women. Oh, I love women so much. I'm a woman myself. I'm surrounded by strong, beautiful women from all over the world. And I do believe that when a woman is empowered, then the whole community is empowered. And the world becomes a better place when we have women in leadership roles because they think beyond what do we need to do. They're thinking about the person. How can I help this person excel? What are they going through? How can I identify their needs and meet them as far as possible? So it was an amazing program. And if you ever get the chance to join it, I please would advise you to join it. There's a lot of support, there's a lot of introspection. You must be someone who is willing to put in the work as well. You are not going to get spoon fed, but you are going to get amazing support, amazing resources, and the SMEs who were the mentors who were looking after us, top tier. They really helped us to be able to see what is possible in the space, and we were able to learn about each other and create a cute little community where we support each other. So it was a 10 out of 10 experience for me.
It was a great experience. You had mentioned grassroots projects. What grassroots projects are you currently working on?
So I'm looking to create a community of African women who are learning Bitcoin from the ground up. I've called it Sissy Sats, and I have just created an email newsletter for it, and I'm doing the finishing touches on it. It's going to be storytelling. So I'll be using a character called Zandi, and she will be talking about everyday things like how to buy coffee with Bitcoin, how to save it. She'll have a niece and she'll be sharing stories with her. So it will be telling the story of Bitcoin through Zandi and storytelling. And as time progresses, I'll also be sharing what Bitcoin is, the technical side, simplifying it, and also explaining what's happening in the markets. So I'm hoping to evolve with it over time.
That's great. And we're both storytellers. So please keep me posted on that. If you need any help visually, I'm here to help you.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you. I
Stefan.
appreciate
Let's talk about Bitcoin and storytelling. Bitcoin could be a very complicated thing to speak about, that's the reason why I think storytelling is so important. So can you tell us a little bit more about your experience on what you found between storytelling and Bitcoin and how you are bridging that gap?
I love that question. And that's actually one of the things that drew me to you because you're a storyteller. People who see the world through stories have a very rich imagination and they have an empathy that I really relate to and resonate with. So I appreciate you being in the space with the storytelling. And so for me, because as you mentioned, Bitcoin is so technical and so difficult to understand, for us to reach people where they are, we need to tell stories. It makes it so much easier to understand. So, if, for example, people think, I can't use Bitcoin because it's so technical, saying something like, if you can use a banking app, you can use Bitcoin, makes it easier for someone to understand. It means that, okay, so this is the level of usage is not as difficult as I thought it was. It's important to relate it to everyday things that they understand and that they use. You can't speak above someone because that's when you lose them, which is why it's so important to tell stories that make sense to the individual so they can see how it helps them. Because I honestly believe that Bitcoin solves problems. But if I don't understand your problem, I can't sell Bitcoin to you, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that it's make hello again. Yeah, it makes me think of Santosh, who says that okay, since no corners basically operate on an obsolete operating system, how can they relate to what you're talking to them about? And one is to use analogies. And this is, I think, is very parallel. Is not, it's confluent to the storytelling. To just use real life, concrete stuff that people know, and talking about like scarcity, for example. Like imagine, like, what's your I don't know, what do you prefer in life? For example, and I don't know, football. Okay, what's your preferred team, favorite team? I don't know, Argentina. Okay, so imagine there are like 21 Messi number 10 shirts in the world. So how much would you pay for them? Stuff like that. And in the end,
Yeah.
people can relate.
Yes.
And then it's another story to explain how this applies to the digital world, where in theory you can copy pasta anything, but not in Bitcoin. So
Yeah,
Exactly.
I, I definitely agree. The stories that I was interested in for so long were more based on real life. Had I would watch a lot of documentaries, nonfiction, and lately I've been getting a little bit more into fiction based on real life. And I think there are stories that we're not telling, especially that I think Africa is ground zero for Bitcoin right now. There's a lot of great
Yes.
innovation, yet we're not seeing enough of the stories play out. When I go on YouTube, uh, maybe it's just my algorithm, but if I go into Bitcoin, I don't see it's more of a Western view. So I would love to see more stories like you were talking about. Anything in particular that's inspired you?
So I actually read a book called Thrill Switch by Tim Hawkin, and he was talking about Web3 in that context, but it made me understand better the virtual world. And basically, he's talking about what does the world look like if there's no morality, if the crimes you commit in a virtual world you don't get punished for them. Does that mean in real world you must get punished for them, you know? And I think Bitcoin becomes a bit of a moral issue. How is it being used? What is it being used for? And maybe that's where part of the scamming that people are wary of. They think, what is this thing? How does it better my life? And what way is this supposed to lead to? And it's so interesting you mentioned about fiction. And I think fiction, no matter what it is based on real life. And I speak on this as someone who has written stories since I was like 6 or 7. Any fiction that you read, I'm telling you, that story has happened, perhaps not exactly as you read it, but there is always elements of truth to it. And when people can relate to something, it makes it easier for them to adopt. And with Bitcoin, that's very important for people to understand what this thing that is just in the air somewhere, is doing for them. It's not just, oh, we're trying to make so much money, but what can we do with that? How is it adding to my life? Make it tangible the way having a cow is tangible, having land is tangible. Make it relatable in that sense and make people laugh, make people cry, and that's the joy of storytelling. And it's for us as Africans, storytelling is as old as time. That's
Mhm.
what we do. We sit by the fire to listen to the older ones sharing their stories. We pass them on to our children when the time comes. So storytelling is a core part of Africans. So it only makes sense for us to create those stories and share them with the world. So it's not second or third parties telling our stories. It's time for us to tell our stories so that we can all relate and people can learn from it.
It makes me think is super interesting, related to what, like, to the Western or at least European culture, where memory historically was, of course, transmitted by voice, because it was basically the only way, and then it became writing and so forth, and this is almost completely lost in the West. So I was wondering, now that Africa will little by little be digitized as well, you will frog leap certainly some kind of evolutions that took place in the West. But do you think that going forward, this tradition, this storytelling tradition, will stand the digital times becoming generalized in Africa?
That is such an excellent question and one that I've been thinking about myself because the way sure made it out as if their way of living was the best. So there were things that we forgot as Africans. But I think ever since the pandemic, there's become a reawakening of Africans. We are now reclaiming our identity. And that looks like going back to what our ancestors were doing. We are now eating more natural foods. We are growing foods with our own hands. My grandmother had green fingers. My sister has green fingers. My mother has green fingers. We grow some of our own things. We have peppers, lemons, herbs. We're going back to that. As
Yes.
for storytelling, That one is going to take some time because we're now so used to the dopamine hits we get from social media. You scroll, you feel great, you scroll, you feel great. When you are sitting down for storytelling, it it's all of your emotions and all of your senses being used. And because we don't visit our grandparents and the village as often as we used to in the past, that part of storytelling in some aspects has died down. But I do think there is a reawakening, and especially I would say for millennials growing up, they are now feeling the need to go back to what our parents and grandparents were doing. There is definitely a need to go back to farming. I personally want to live on a farm. It would make my heart so, so happy. I want to be back with nature. And I'm hearing more conversations among young people wanting to be away from the way of life as it is now, and for us to actually now go back to our grandparents and ask them, what was life like? What was my great, 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 great grandparent like? What was the royalty like? Because quite a few of us Africans have royalty, but we've lost that lineage because of all the things that have happened over the years. So I definitely think it's something that we need to rekindle, but I don't think it has died as yet. And as time passes, we're going to keep seeing the importance of it. And the more of us that step up to make it a reality, the better it will be.
Oh, excellent. It's really interesting. Everything you say is interesting, so it's easy. When you talk specifically about green fingers and such, so I live in Italy, and here also people use what I call the intelligence of hands. You don't really need to go to university to understand how the world functions, and people know how to work woods and in engines, and they build their houses and they grow their food, and all this has to do with, okay, low time preference, of course, and when you're grounded, when you grow your food in the local fertile soil, which is often specific, by the way, this is a huge contributor to the local culture, and even in the expressions you use. I can think of several here in Veneto, where we speak with a strange accent and with very flourished expressions using fruit and vegetable, which is stuff that people have been growing for a long time. So my hope here, and trying to answer to our common question concerning the survivability of storytelling, is that going back to a hard money system, time slows down again, and we will have time again to be grounded and to tell stories. Because one of the reasons why we can't tell stories is that we don't have the freaking time to do it. We just have to run like hamsters, and who cares about your story, under the tree or whatever. We will have time again to do that.
That's actually such an excellent point because I was also thinking about that because it means time slows down. And that's part of the reason I personally want to live on a farm. You are also very grounded and you have to focus on the task at hand. You can't be thinking about, oh, I need to do one, two, three. If you're milking the cow, you're milking the cow. If you're tilling the land, you're tilling the land. And it's so good for the nervous system for you to be out in nature, to be touching the soil, to be there with the animals, to feel the wind blowing through your hair, and to be eating the fruits of your labor. I think that is an amazing, beautiful thing. Not to mention how we're being destroyed with the pesticides and chemicals that are being put in our food. You can taste the difference between hand grown food and the food from the supermarket. So I really do hope we do get to that place where we have enough time for us to tell the stories, because as you mentioned, that's such a good point.
Okay.
Yeah, that perfectly said. And I've met a lot of Bitcoiners around the world, and there seems to be an internal journey that eventually within that journey, I've seen that part reoccur, like people going back to the basics, right? Which is food. Because Bitcoin is something that you really need to take time and you need to tend to and you need to understand in order to build more wealth for yourself. Once you have it and you buy back that time, a lot of the other things in your life start to reflect that, right? So, and I myself have felt something similar, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it buys
I
time.
get
This is such a nice and effective way to put it, because time is the most scarcest resource we have, and if you can retrieve it, then you win.
It is like gardening, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
100%.
So Bitcoin often gets described in very technical or maximalist terms. What unique AM insights have you had about its philosophical or emotional impact on everyday life, healing, or breaking free from people pleasing patterns?
Oh, that's a heavy question. That is
Figured.
so good.
So basically, please talk to us about AM insights, which I think it's really interesting, and I trust that it's not too much surprise.
Wow, this is a really, really good question.
Yeah, okay. So Bitcoin often gets described in very technical or maximalist terms. What unique 3 a.m. insights have you had about its philosophical or emotional impact on everyday life, healing, or breaking free from people pleasing patterns? So basically, it's let's forget the technical or maximalist terms, and let's concentrate on more like human impact of Bitcoin, talking about healing, breaking free from people pleasing patterns, i.e., philosophical or emotional impacts of Bitcoin, something like that.
Thank you so much. First, I would say that it's permissionless. I don't need anyone's permission. People pleasing makes you feel you need people's permission to do something, to act a certain way. You can't just be yourself because there are consequences for it. But Bitcoin says, here it is. It's up to you. You decide what you're going to do with it. You are in control. And that is so empowering. But it does take a lot for a people pleaser to get to that stage, to be in charge of their life, to be like, okay, this is on me. I don't need to care about what anybody else is saying. Secondly, it reflects who you are, especially when it comes to money habits. If you have not done the work, it will show up in your Bitcoin journey. When you see the market crashing, you're going to wild out, you're going to sell. Or if it goes too high, you get too happy. Your patterns show up because how you act is based on the work you've done or the work that you haven't done. So it's actually like a mirror to you. And if you're not ready to look in the mirror, then I would say Bitcoin is not for you. And thirdly, patience. My goodness, this is not a get rich quick scheme. Not at all. You need to be someone who is ready for the long haul, someone who is not trying to be in and out. You need to have long term thinking. And this means you need to be honest with yourself. Why are you using Bitcoin? Is it because everybody else is telling you to use it? Is it because you think you're going to become rich overnight? Or is it because you actually believe in creating something that is going to outlast you? What is important for you? So I think what Bitcoin speaks to these three aspects that I've mentioned, and it really makes you introspect and think, this is bigger than what I think it is. It's not just money, it affects every aspect of my life.
That was very well said, Lazolia. I totally agree. That's part of the journey, right?
Yeah, I said you could tell that you're a storyteller, Lazolia.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Really, because yeah, it makes me want to listen to you for hours, which is yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you. And yeah, I think that personal sovereignty is not for everybody, but if since it's okay, Bitcoin reintroduces personal responsibility, which is something that has been completely forgotten because we think we do need to trust third parties, and so people or don't realize they have the choice, or they don't. It's literally don't want to,
Yes.
because freedom means it can mean loneliness, or it's it's easier to be in the hive mind and just to talk about others instead of talking about ideas and stuff like that. And so I think that one reason why Bitcoiners, let's say in the 2009 until 2025, have a peculiar, I think, psychological profile is that we tend to be people who ask questions and think things for granted. And so we basically we are some kind of a trailblazer to allow humanity to free itself from central banking or governments or whatever. And hearing myself now, I feel like, well, this guy thinks that he's smart or not very humble,
Not at all.
but in the end it takes at least a form of humility in not take things for granted. Is that clear? Okay.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And that point you mentioned about some people would rather not be free, I agree with you. And that's something I also had to come to terms with because,
Oh
as you
yeah.
mentioned, 2009 Bitcoiners, I have always asked questions. I'm inquisitive. I'm curious. I want to know why things are the way they are. And do they have to stay that way? Why do they have to stay that way? I think in my past life, I must have been a revolutionary person. I really think so. And I think that's why Bitcoin appeals to me because I'm about challenging the status quo. It doesn't make sense for us all to be doing something that is not benefiting us. We should be getting better and not getting worse. And that's why I love Bitcoin because it makes you slow down and really think about what you're doing. It's not as easy as just clicking a button, getting your dopamine hit. It's something that you need to consciously do because the responsibility is on you. You cannot say, oh, Daisy, I blame you for doing this. Oh, support, you need to do this. There's no one to save you. You can only save yourself. And it's definitely a mindset thing. And I think for people to enjoy Bitcoin for what it is, they need to change their mindset and believe that this is what they want and this is what is going to help serve them and help them reach the goals that they have for them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I had a quick thought. When you say, for instance, no one is going to save you, I immediately thought, you do need to go it alone, yet do not be afraid to also reach out to others. A lot of people are learning and they're in different parts of their journey. So people can take that quite literally, right? And think that it's supposed to be a very solo adventure. So, what does that mean to do it alone, yet you're not alone? Can you explain that a little bit more?
So you do it alone in that you decide that this is the journey you're going on, but you have community to help you because you cannot do life alone. And for you to even decide that you're doing this, it's because you saw someone who did it. So either you want to learn from that person or you want to find people around you who can help you get to where that person is. So you start alone because you only have you, but when you need help, you have to have a community. You need to have people you can speak to and say, I'm so confused about this. What does this mean? What happens if this happens? You can't do it alone in that sense, but you are alone in that you make this decision and you're responsible for whatever happens, which is why it's so important for us to create communities and writing materials and education and content that speaks to where people are at different stages of the Bitcoin journey, especially in the beginning when it's so confusing. There's so much happening and you don't know where to turn to. When you know that you've got someone who you can rely on, it makes it so much easier for you to stick to what it is that you resolved.
Mm. This makes me think of something that I don't know. Thinking about the very word community, I sense that at least Maxis get defensive on that, saying we're not a community. We're just a bunch of individuals with aligned incentives, which makes sense. But my question would be, what's wrong with being a community where I think that most, or if not all, people on the planet, in the end, need a community whatever it is, like the yoga course, or I don't know, going to rave parties, or community. So what's your take on that? That the individual, okay, I'll give you my take. Individualism versus collectivism is that one of the many great discoveries from Bitcoin is that the best way to benefit the community is to unleash extreme individuality so that everybody can express the maximum of their potential.
Wow.
Okay, so
That's
basically,
a very interesting.
yeah, so the best form of collectivism is individualism. It's one of the many Bitcoin paradoxes. For Bitcoin, I mean, yeah, this is valid maybe for the human experience in general, but it applies to Bitcoin for sure.
Wow. That's actually so interesting. And I think it works if people are motivated to be their best. But as we've seen, most people are sheep. So, unless I'm being influenced to be my best, it means by default, I'm not trying to be my best. And community is important because we look to each other to see what can be done. We call people pioneers because they did what was not done. They imagined something, they could see themselves doing it. Everybody else thought they were crazy, but they had this vision and they went for it. And because they made it possible, now others come and they think, snap, this thing can actually be real. And it opens your mind because now you see so many possibilities. I
Exactly.
believe there are very few individuals who will just do whatever they want to do. Elon Musk, all these amazing people, they are the few that have it in them that I want to create this thing that's in my head and I'm going to, or at least I'll die trying. The rest of people are just watching and seeing what's happening. And then I would say there's a small percentage, maybe 10 to 20, who are waiting for someone to show up and show what's possible so that they can get the courage to also step up and explore their idea. If I see Daisy writing or creating an amazing film, I can sit and think, wow, I love how she wrote that story. I've been thinking about this thing. Let me try it. And I can reach out to her and say, what was your inspiration? How did you come to that point? Could you share with me? And then I learn from her and I create my own thing. So I believe community is very important because if Stefan is doing amazing things, it encourages me to do better. But if we're all being told be better, but it's not within me, then it's just going to collapse. At least that's what I
Mhm.
think.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, you said the magic word Elon, and I have an idea there also. Is that did you do you realize how much this guy is hated?
Yes,
And
yes.
do you have an idea of the deepest reason why? I'll tell you my idea.
Go ahead.
Is that this guy is extremely, now I'm almost getting emotional because I think he's extremely bullish humanity. He sees humanity living on other stars, and people hate him, saying burning too much fuel to have a starship take off. And he does what he does. If you look every single one of his companies or endeavors or initiatives, this guy believes in humanity. And since we live in a Malthusian world post Club of Rome 70s, where we are too many on the planet, so we need to reduce the population. So we need to hate humanity in order to go forward. What kind of a life is that?
Is it a
What's,
life at all if we have to hate humanity to go forward?
excuse me?
Is it a life at all?
Yeah.
Because then that speaks to, I guess it speaks to that phrase where they say there will be casualties in war. Some
Hmm.
people must suffer for the greater good. The
But
trolley
yeah, yeah.
paradox.
Please define the greater good. This is another one.
You see
Yeah.
now that's also another aspect. What is the greater good? Who decides? what the
Yeah.
greater good is.
Who
Is it
decides what's
good?
misinformation?
Exactly, exactly. Where is the power of control? Who is deciding these things for us? And how do we come to a consensus that, okay, yes, I think it's better for us to grow tomatoes rather than onions because tomatoes are going to help us with our health. But why? What about onions? Onions also have their benefits.
Oh, yes, I
And
love them.
I think that's a really good question and important perspective to look at. But I think at the end of the day, having discussions where we're able to air where we are coming from should help us to find a majority vote. Is that not why we have things like democracy? It's majority vote. So not everyone will be happy, but we're looking for a general consensus that we can at least work with, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And if everyone being alive and happy and healthy is the goal, then within moral constraints, whatever society has agreed to define them as being, I think that's the way to go. Because I also do realize there are different ways to reach a goal. And some, I may judge Daisy for wanting to do something in one way. I may judge Elon for wanting to take us to Mars, all sorts of things. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's the wrong way just because I feel that's the way it is. Let's all try to get there. Whoever gets there first, bring the rest along. We mustn't now just sit and wait and hope that someone gets there. Doing it his way, let's try do it our way. And at some point, they might converge. And then we'll be able to do something even greater.
Mm. Yeah, I was thinking about it, like related, unrelated, the path of least resistance. This is a very interesting topic to dig into, but we don't have to do that today. So, going back to Grok's more or less scammy questions, just one sec. So let's see. Oh, by the way, Lazolia, you didn't tell us why 3 a.m. insights.
Because I've been struggling with my sleep, and that's when I have the craziest thoughts sometimes. So I said 3 a.m. It's like middle of the night. It's not yet quite the next day, and it's
Yeah.
still, it's when you should be having your deepest sleep, but here you are awake in bed. So that's why 3 a.m.
Okay, and do you think that your thoughts in that time frame is are like clearer? Because in the morning, like my first thoughts or my first tweets or my first reactions on LinkedIn are often like the most insightful just when I wake up. So
100%.
okay,
I think that is
so
my sweet spot.
okay, so there is some positivity in not in actually not sleeping at that time of day.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely there is. I have a lot of notes that I have come up with and things that I think about at that time. And I think, wow, this would be great. And then if I remember it, I can execute it the next day or in the future. So I have a lot of ideas that I'm excited to execute. And especially now when it comes to Bitcoin, I've been thinking about what story can I tell? An idea will come up and I'll think, oh, that would be great to explain this theory or this thing. And I'm always now thinking of how can I make this message simple so people understand it and can make an informed decision. I don't want to come out as I'd like to be an advocate for Bitcoin, but not a die-hard fan. Oh, you must have Bitcoin or else the world will end type of thing. No, not at all. I want people to be educated because the people that I have come across have many misconceptions about Bitcoin. So at least if though we can dismantle the myths and misperceptions, people are then able to buy into it because they can understand it and they see it for what it is and they can make it their own if they so wish.
Yes, yes. And by the way, talking about losing your sleep, here in the Bitcoin Marketing Podcast, we partner with the Bitcoin Advisor, which is a service that's been existing for a decade now, which offers you lifetime long security for your Bitcoin. While you keep control of your coins, you know that you are not going to lose it because you will use a service which is a multi-sig collaborative security service where, unlike standard multi-sig, you only have one key with which you generate the other two keys, which are respectively held by the Bitcoin advisor and Theia, which is the multisig provider. So please contact us. Go on www.thebitcoinadvisor.com/bitfluencers so that you can sleep like a baby, even including at 3. So, another question. As someone who's written about healing journeys and intentional, living for years, how do you see Bitcoin fitting into broader personal development? Is it a tool for mental freedom or something more spiritual?
That's a beautiful question. For me, I see Bitcoin being the epitome of self possession. So, self possession is fully owning yourself, your mind, your body, your health, your finances, your spirituality. So, you are so sure about yourself, you are not influenced by external people or noises or things. You know what it is that you want. You have gathered enough information to make informed decisions. You can stand on your own. Whatever decision you make, good or bad, you are ready to take responsibility for it. You are taking responsibility for your life, where you go and where you end up. If you have if you know you I mean we all have mistakes. You don't beat yourself up about it. You see it as something that you learn from. Same with Bitcoin. It's all on you. You are responsible. You are in full control. And you need to be mentally prepared for that kind of freedom. Because as we mentioned earlier, it's not necessarily for everyone. Not everyone wants to have that kind of responsibility because of what comes with it. But when you embrace it and when you are ready for it, it is such a liberating thing because it's something that nobody can take away from you. And so it's so important for you to heal so that you are able to be the very best that you can be and see beyond just the money when it comes to Bitcoin and see the philosophy, the way of living, the mindset behind it.
Hmm. Okay, okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Going back to Sat's sister circle, or Satoshi Sister Circle. So you've won twice the award of the community. So what advice would you give to other women, especially sensitive or self-aware ones, who are just starting to explore Bitcoin and feel intimidated by the male-dominated culture or technical side? You were talking about the network of women.
I'd love to answer. It's actually a very good question. I'm very impressed with Grok. Well done, Grok. So
It
to
is all
this.
about the prompt.
So well done, Stefan. You're the goat.
I can't remember the prompt, but sorry. Go ahead.
So, especially if you're a sensitive and aware woman, I would say listen to that little voice that's telling you to explore Bitcoin. That is not a mistake. And I can say that from experience because I was looking for something that led to freedom. I just didn't know it was Bitcoin, and it's more than the finances. It's more than financial. It's a way of life. It's a mindset. I believe in the Bitcoin mindset, in living in a way that you take full responsibility for your life. And as people who are sensitive and aware, self aware, it's important for them to find community. Satoshi Sister Circle, I highly, highly recommend signing up for the next cohort if you can, because you will get the support you need. The mentors are there to guide you. And it's women. Women are kind, women are empathetic, women want to share, they want to guide you on the journey. But please learn to speak up. Please learn to
Hello.
speak up. If you are in trouble, you need to say something. You need to say something is wrong.
Yes.
Because I think, especially as women, we suffer in silence when there was someone that could help you. And I think Daisy spoke to this earlier. With community, you have to say, I really appreciate this about you. And Daisy did that with me, actually. She appreciated something I said in one of our classes, and that's how we connected. And so I think it's so important for us to have community, speak to people, find out how people are feeling, document what it is that you are going through, because you'd be surprised who's going to slide in your DMs and say, oh my goodness, I thought it was just me who was feeling this way. Going back to the storytelling we spoke at the beginning, we don't share our stories enough unless it's to get engagement online. And when we start sharing real stories, we make each other feel more seen and more like we're experiencing humanity together. It's not just me who's going through this. And so, Bitcoin, as much as there are those who preach for individualism, I believe has created a community of people who want to see the world in a better place. People who want us to be free, not just financially, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally, because we're all working towards something that is not in control of others, but where we have decided that this is the path that I want to take and this is where I want to go. So please reach out if you have any questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions and find someone that you're comfortable with, because they are women who are willing to help you.
Okay, so if you want to reach out to the Satoshi Sister Circle, go to satoshisters.org. It's based in Ghana. Or on Twitter X, it's at Sat Sister Circle in one word. Sat Sister Circle. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lazolia, you gave a great presentation for the Capstone Project. By the way, one fact is that over half of Sub-Saharan Africans, about 350 million unbanked adults, are women. What are specific barriers keeping African women from accessing traditional finance services?
So I would say our culture, we have a very patriarchal culture, so the man is in charge. And because the man is in charge, he's in charge of the finances, meaning he has a bank account, but the mother of the house does not have a bank account. She gets the money from him. And if he decides to be stingy, well, that's it. Then she has no other means. Another thing is how difficult it is to set up a bank account. They need so many requirements. They need proof of payment. They need proof of residence. So many requirements that the ordinary woman would not have access to because she does not have access to things. Maybe she's not even working. She's just a stay-at-home mom. So now she has to go to her husband to get these things in order for her to get the bank account. And if he doesn't want her to be empowered, well, then that's a problem. So it's so important. It's a really sad reality that a lot of African women do not have access to financial services, and when they do, they're not treated well, or they are treated in some way that may discourage them to continue. There's long lines. Sometimes you stand in the sun all day. The bank systems are offline. It takes a lot of sacrifices to even be able to use the systems. So in the end, they may feel it's better for me to just put my money under the mattress, if that.
What's the situation in South Africa? Talking about that on the energy side, which I saw that there were the rolling blackouts or brownouts. What's the situation now?
It is much better. During
Oh,
during the pandemic, it was really bad. Fortunately, we did more or less have a system, so you knew that 3 times a day we will not have power. It will go for 3 to 4 hours, some places six. It depended where you were. I was unfortunate where I live, I'm on the grid of the hospital. So, because of that, our power cuts were not as bad as other people in the
okay.
country. So it also depended where you lived. But it is much better now. There are still a few areas that are struggling with power, but it's definitely much better now. And that's why it would be so good if we could have energy being used here, because we have sunshine almost all year round.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that we need to take advantage of.
Yeah, yeah. So solar is certainly a way to go. Are there any other energy source to use in South Africa?
To be honest with you, I haven't looked into it, but hydroelectric power is something that
Yeah.
could be tapped into if it hasn't already. That's something I'm actually going to go do my homework on after this.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, as we know, Bitcoin mining is a way to develop. Maybe South Africa is needs less microgrids than an actual national grid, because I guess it's yeah, it's a big country,
Yes.
quite heavily populated and so forth. So yeah, yeah, it's certainly an interesting topic to see how Bitcoin could eventually. I'm not saying it could. It couldn't necessarily eventually have a good impact there.
Yeah. So the cohort was a lot of work. Talk about proof of work, right? And
Yes.
having to connect with other people, having you to speak to after it was awesome. And around this time, it was November, and I remember we were talking, and you mentioned the riots that were going on, not just in South Africa, but all over. There are protests, violence against women across the continent. Can you tell us more about that? Charlene sent us an article about a woman who was just about to open a community bank in South Africa. So I'd love to know if you ever followed up on that.
Yes, so gender based violence, GBV, is a huge problem in South Africa. So many women die at the hands of their lovers, and it's gotten out of hand. So we have had a march last year to speak out about the violence that is happening. And this is very much a community problem because of culture, in the sense that two parent homes are not the norm, and a lot of people grow up with violence in their homes, so they perpetuate it when they grow up in their relationships because they haven't learned how to communicate in a way without using your hands. And the initiatives, they help, but not so much, because this is something that needs to go down to the home level. This is something we need to speak on, that people need to be able to be educated about, that violence is not right. There is a different way, a better way of speaking to and getting your point across. And that's why it's important for women to be empowered, because a lot of women in these situations don't leave in time. And when they pass on, they leave their children, and their children suffer. So now, if a woman is financially able, like through Bitcoin, then she's able to leave the situation and be able to look after her children and save them from this. But as long as the women are not empowered and don't learn about how they can get away, this cycle is going to keep on, because her son is going to see that she was beaten up, and it will be internalized, and he's going to carry on doing this moving forward. As for the bank led by the woman, I think that is such a beautiful initiative. If I recall, she had been wanting to do this for a while, because I had come across her quite a few years ago, either the pandemic or the year before. And I'm so happy for her now that she has actually managed to make it a possibility, and that people have believed in her enough to invest in her. It still needs to be broadcast more, because not many people know about it, and there are quite a few skeptical people. I went on Facebook, a lot of people were not buying it, they were not for it. They're like, why is she doing this? What is this? What does a woman know about finance? So there's still a lot of hurdles for her to overcome, but I'm so glad that she managed to get this far. And I think with more education, it's definitely going to become part of the culture here, and that would be fantastic. And it's also good for young Black girls to see what is possible, because she has led the way. So I'm excited for that.
Lazolia, thank you. By the way, how do you pronounce
Yes, you said it correctly, Lazolia.
Lazolia Buzuzi?
Yes, excellent. Well done.
When I saw your name, I just thought I love that name.
Thank you.
It's like music to my ears.
Thank you. You're too kind. Thank you so much.
Okay, ladies, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time, and keep in touch and go ahead with your wonderful project. Take care.
Thank you so much, Stefan. It was such a privilege to be here. Thank you so much, Daisy. And please keep up the amazing work you're doing here at the Bitcoin Marketing Podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lazolia. Thank you for coming on.